Hi everybody, it's Sid from Cool Movie Gram, your source for everything about cool film. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos, like my videos and comment and all the usual stuff. And those of you who have already been doing that, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much. Of course, we are still continuing the FU-BRUARY theme and we are talking all about Kung Fu movies. And of course, this is the third video in my top 50 Kung Fu movies of all time list. This time around covering videos 40 to 36. Now, without any further ado, let's just crack on with it. Number 40 is The Mystery of Chess Boxing, a 1979 film directed by Joseph Kuo. It stars Lee Yi-min, Jack Long, Mark Long, and Yin Soo-tien. Notorious Ghostface Killer is on a rampage, out for revenge to kill those responsible for arresting him. So he's going around one by one, just taking out all these people who arrested him. And Ah Pao, at the same time, is now a young man looking to learn Kung Fu to avenge his father's death. He joins a martial arts school, but then he's actually found that he's actually getting bullied by a lot of the other students. But then he does befriend an old chef at the school who teaches him the basics of his own martial arts and how to improve his skill. But after that man is mysteriously killed, the school and the students and the master begin to question Ah Pao's motives and who he really is, whether he is working for Ghostface Killer or not. But then he is kicked out of the school, and then he is taken in by Chi Seo-tin, a Kung Fu master who is actually in hiding from Ghostface Killer, who decides to teach him his mysterious chess boxing style, which is like an elusive form of Kung Fu, very effective, but not many people know about it. And eventually this kind of leads to the showdown between him and the Ghostface Killer. Now, of course, the title itself was used as a track which was done by the Wu-Tang Clan on their first album. And also, you know, the bad guy's name, Ghostface Killer, which was used by Dennis Coles, who's of course the member of one of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan, who used to go by the name D Lover before, and he kind of like changed his name to the Ghostface Killer as his kind of his moniker. And you know, this film, again, very influential in terms of hip-hop, is considered as one of the greatest Kung Fu movies of all time, definitely. I mean, the plot, again, is quite basic. It's very, I mean, again, another one of those films which was kind of cashing in on the whole kind of underdog Kung Fu kind of like comedy kind of feel, which of course Jackie Chan had made famous at that time. But yeah, this one is full of some really cool training sequences. Lee Yi-min himself does show a lot of great kind of acrobatic abilities, considering that he had only featured in a few like Shaw Brothers movies before, but then he went to work with the independent Taiwanese Joseph Kuo and did a bunch of movies with him. And yeah, he was an actual very kind of effective leading man in terms of Kung Fu movies. But then also, I would say the star of this movie, definitely Mark Long, who as the bad guy, the Ghostface Killer. He's just absolutely a vicious, notorious bad guy, and he does that really well. Has that kind of scowl to him. And you know, even Jack Long, his brother, playing the old master who teaches Ah Pao the chess boxing, is really cool. And you know, he does kind of show some great kind of ability. You know, the shapes in this movie again are really good. The fight choreography is done really well. And you know, it's again a very influential film, not in terms of just Kung Fu movies, but even in terms of the fact that it's spawned probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest hip-hop kind of like groups of all time, and also responsible for the success of like one of the best like hip-hop albums ever made. And definitely the fact that it was released on Blu-ray last year by Eureka as a double feature called From the Swordsman of All Swordsmen, but it was featured as like a bonus disc. And Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say you would need to check this movie out if you probably haven't. And I know they never got an actual proper Blu-ray release, like in terms of a proper remaster, but the only surviving print was actually then kind of restored by Eureka, and I think somebody else did prior to that. But then that print was actually sourced as a kind of like a reference point for the new remaster, but then you still got the burnt out subtitles. But then of course you do have the English language dub, which is what most of the people remember this movie with. Definitely worth watching, and yeah, definitely one of the movies that goes down in Kung Fu movie history as kind of like one of the best movies of the era, especially when it comes to the Taiwanese independent productions as opposed to the Hong Kong ones. Number 39 is Iron Monkey, a 1993 movie directed by Yuen Woo-ping, starring Yurong Guang, Donnie Yen, Jean Wang, and Yin Si Kwan. Now, a masked vigilante known as Iron Monkey who robs the rich and corrupt to feed the poor. It causes a stir in the courts. Wang Ki-yin and his young son Wang Fei-hong have actually arrived in town, passing through, but then they're caught in the midst of all of this, where the master and his son are arrested, and in order to save his son, he vows to bring in Iron Monkey. And in this time, he does befriend a kind-hearted doctor who seems to be more than meets the eye with this man. But then the arrival of a corrupt official and his henchmen and henchwomen, brings only bad news. This was kind of like made at the height of the wire fu kind of like era, which was started by Choi Hark with Jet Li's Once Upon a Time in China, which kind of revived Kung Fu movies in 1991. But then, of course, this is another movie where Yuen Woo-ping, who had actually done the fight choreography on those Once Upon a Time in China films, like the first two especially, Choi Hark had actually kind of employed him as a director to make Iron Monkey. Now, this movie itself wasn't a big success when it came out in Hong Kong in 1993. It didn't do so well at the box office, but of course, the reputation of it got Quentin Tarantino's attention, who had actually kind of like with the Weinstein Company decided to kind of rescore and re-release this film, and it kind of like did pretty well at the US box office. But of course, it was this like kind of like a watered down Weinstein version. Let's just stay away from all of that movie. But then this movie itself, again, it's full of wire fu. The wire fu's done pretty well. Some really cool kind of like fight sequences done, even with the characters kind of flying through, and a lot of undercranking involved. And one of the scenes where Donnie Yen actually kind of uses like just one leg to kick multiple times, done pretty well. And then of course you see him doing his like jump split kick and a third kick at the same time mid-air, done really well. And just the characters, the set design, and everything involved in this movie, it just kind of makes it for something from the 90s, which is done with kind of precision, and it's done such a well way. And I'm really kind of like, whenever I do watch this movie, it's really enjoyable. And of course, the young actress, the child actress, she had actually been playing the male Wang Fei-hong, and she was done really well. She was like a kind of like a wushu champion, like a kind of martial arts kind of like expert who was employed, and then she'd done really well. She was really kind of like very skilled. Jean Wang again, was just kind of like playing like the doctor's assistant, but you kind of see her backstory kind of all pieced together. And Yin Si Kwan again is, as a bad guy, he is absolutely kind of like very effective, very kind of vicious. And of course the finale of this movie, the fact that they're fighting unlike kind of like those poles where this fire all around, which was all done for real. If you actually watch like the interviews and the behind the scenes stuff that was going on in this movie, and how dangerous it looks as well, even though they're on wires, but the fact that they're fighting with fire all around them, it's crazy. It's like the kind of like the madness that we got from like golden era Hong Kong movies. And definitely, again, another film I would say it is a must watch in terms of like Chinese martial arts movies, definitely.
Allow me to demonstrate the skill of Shaolin, the special technique of shadow boxing.
38 is Shaolin vs. Lama, a 1983 film directed by Lee Chao-nam. It stars Alexander Lo-Ray and Chan Shang. Now, a skilled fighter, Sung Li Ting, is looking for a kung fu master that can teach him new techniques. Only if that master can beat him. He befriends a young monk who suggests him to try maybe asking his master, who's like an old Shaolin kung fu master who's kind of like turned to the bottle, but he is actually a really effective martial arts master, but after really kind of like skilled martial artist. But after kind of like eventually going through like some comedic kind of mishaps, trying to learn the kung fu, he reluctantly accepts to take this man as his disciple. But a villainous figure from the master's past who turns up, and he ends up causing more trouble for Shaolin as well as the master himself. Yet again, another one of the films which has been referenced heavily by the Wu-Tang Clan. It was used in the song Shadow Boxing, like the English dub dialogue was, as well as the song Guillotine Swords on the Raekwon's album Only Built for Cuban Links. The fights again are fast, furious. The fact that this was a small budget kind of like independent production in comparison to like the big studios at the time, which were like Golden Harvest and Shaw Brothers, of course. This was different because this was done independently. And Alexander Lo-Ray, again, a very great. He went on to kind of like make a bunch of like ninja movies, but he was really kind of like very well kind of versed. He was really effective as a leading man in this film. The fights again are done really well. I mean, just from the get-go, I mean, there's a lot of great fight scenes throughout the film, and I'm hoping. I know that apparently I did hear that nobody knows who owns the rights to Lee Chao-nam's films, which is why unfortunately we do not have a remastered Blu-ray of this film, which I would love to see. This film be given that treatment. It would just be great. And but who knows? Maybe somebody out there. I mean, if they can get if Shout can get the John Woo and the Golden Princess library, I'm sure somebody would be able to get the rights for these movies by Lee Chao-nam, which are begging for a decent release. 37 is Executioners from Shaolin. 1976 movie directed by Lau Ka-leung, stars Chen Kun-tai, Lo Li, Wang Yu and Lily Li. After Shaolin students are massacred by Qing forces, Hong Shi-kwan escapes and he ends up forming a opera troupe where he meets Young Chun and gets married after falling in love. And at the same time, over the years, he has been training to defeat the evil Wu-Tang priest Pai Mei, who was responsible for the massacre, and who has actually mastered an invincible kind of like iron vest kung fu, which kind of leaves him invulnerable to attacks. But he only has one weak point, which nobody knows of. But then, of course, Hong Shi-kwan is kind of like finding ways to try and kind of like isolate this point on this man. But it's just not easy as it seems. And again, a great movie with Chen Kun-tai. This is probably, I think this and Challenge of the Masters were the first movies that Lau Ka-leung had actually directed, because he was working as the main choreographer along with his younger brother Lau Ka-wing. They were both the choreographers on a lot of Chang Che's movies, which of course he had fallen out and eventually decided to still work for Shaw, but decided to kind of do his own independent movies. as a director himself. And yeah, again, from his first with this and Challenge of the Masters, definitely proved that he is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, the fact is, the guy was a really kind of like, he was a well-versed real martial artist, having lineage that led to Wong Fei Hung. But yeah, I mean, Chen Kuntai, who was a former kind of like a Chinese kung fu champion, who of course had become a hit because of Chan Chay's films, had been kind of featured as the lead man in this. And Lo Li, of course, another one of Wong's kind of like Chan Chay's discoveries, but this time around, of course, playing the iconic villain Pai Mei, also known as the White Brow Priest, who of course was referenced in Kill Bill, who was featured in Kill Bill, played by Gordon Liu, who actually appears in this movie kind of like a layman student, a classmate of Hong Shi Quan, who kind of like sacrifices himself after he's kind of surrounded by these Qing forces and soldiers. And yeah, I mean, again, this film is full of really interesting fights as well, some great use of like kung fu, and of course just the whole kind of like setup, the fact that Pai Mei is just this really deadly kind of dangerous bad guy who kind of like just is just virtually undefeatable. He's just kind of like invincible. He's an invincible kind of bad guy. And again, this movie was another one which was referenced by Wu-Tang Clan, because even the ding 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 in their song "Ain't Nothing to Fuck With" was actually kind of like was from this. And else, or was it not? Sorry, I meant "Protect Your Neck." Yeah, "Protect Your Neck." Ding 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 ding. The still kind of, and of course some of the soundtracks were on the "Protect Your Neck" kind of like beat. It was kind of like the sound effects were from this movie. And yeah, and of course, you know, we all know the Kill Bill references, but definitely, I mean, he stole the show in this film. I mean, Lo Li was absolutely amazing. Wang Yu and Lily Li do get to do some interesting kind of like display of their skills and whatnot, but definitely this was Lo Li's skills, and even Chen Kuntai was good, but this is Lo Li's show. You know, this was his movie. You know, without him, this movie probably would not have been that good, because personally, I could not see anybody else who could play Pai Mei in such an effective way. Number 36, lastly, is Broken Oath, a 1976 film directed by Zheng Zhenghua. Stars Angela Mao, Leung Xiaolong, Chen Waiman, and Sammo Hung. Now, after a government official is murdered, his widow is sent to prison under false charges and dies after giving childbirth in prison. Her infant daughter is adopted by a fellow inmate. Upon release, she hands the child over to a nunnery at the Shaolin Temple, where she's raised and taught kung fu, but cannot master inner peace. She's expelled, and upon learning about her background from her adopted mother, what really happened to her parents, she exacts revenge against those responsible. Yeah, of course, I have already covered this film as for the Eureka release of this movie, which was a great release, and of course the movie itself is really great. It is a kind of a loose adaptation of the Japanese film Lady Snowblood. But of course, in this movie, she kind of, Angela Mao's character kind of resorts to using scorpions, like throwing scorpions on people to bite them, to kill them, and like to sting them, to kill them. And which was quite an inventive way. But at the same time, this film was full of like really good inventive use of weapons, where, you know, you got one of the bad guys has like this kind of like metal claw, almost similar to what Mr. Han uses in Enter the Dragon, but not exactly. It's like a claw, kind of like added, kind of like you hold it like a glove, but then he's got these claws and he just kind of attacks with it. And you know, you have like Sammo Hung using these kind of like it's kind of like a spiked kind of like almost looks like kind of like a fan, like two fans with chains on them. and he's kind of using that, and he's got this kind of like Barry White Uncle Phil cul-de-sac, and I can easily do it on my head because I'm bald too, so you know, it's like, yeah, it's just kind of with long hair and a beard, looking almost like a Chinese Barry White doing kung fu. And you know, it's just you know, the fight choreography again by Yuen Woo Ping as one of the choreographers was done really well. I mean, you get to see people like Yun Bu, Yun Tak and whatnot as like not Yun Bu, sorry, Yun Bu. You get to see people like Corey Yun and others from like and Yun Hua as extras in this film as henchmen. But because the choreography was really slick. I mean, Angela Mao again, probably the queen of kung fu movies. I mean, she's absolutely amazing in this film. She just has that great kind of like acting ability as well as screen presence and martial arts ability. She looks really effective on screen. The fact that she was also opera trained as well, so she was able to kind of use her kind of athleticism to be able to perform her skills. And yeah, I mean, just the way the film was shot was done really well by Jung Jo-hwa, who, of course, the Korean filmmaker who was responsible for the cult classic Five Fingers of Death at Shaw Brothers. But of course, he did leave after his kind of like little kind of spat with Mona Fong. But definitely, I would say he did kind of do something right by going towards Golden Harvest, and this was actually the last film that Angela Mao had actually shot with Golden Harvest, eventually going back to her native Taiwan in order to kind of start a bunch of independent martial arts movies made by Taiwanese companies, some of which have not seen the light of day in the West at all. But I would love to kind of seek them out too, and you know, because she was just that good. Well, yeah, that was my my third video, and I hope to see more. These videos are going to be kind of, like I said, I'm filming these in bulk in order to get them out, so I know they're already done for the month of February, so they will be filmed and they will be edited throughout the period of time, and throughout this month they will be coming out. So I want to get this whole series done in the month of February so I can have some other videos ready for March. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I will catch you on the next one. This is Sid signing out. Peace out.